So my name is Joanna Avetisyan, and I'm teaching at Henley High School, and also I'm working with SAYS doing moderation and marking as well, essentials and specialist math. So today we will go through the exam, like step by step with each question. And I will try to explain as much as I can. If you have any questions, please don't hold it to the end. Just straight away, because there's 3 topics. It's better to answer straight away all those questions. Okay. So in general, the feedback from this last year exam, students actually did quite well. Much better than previous years. And in general, they did, as you know, in Essentials Math, we have 3 topics for exam. It's measurement, statistics, and investment and loans. So they did very well in measurements this year and statistics. With investment and loans, something was wrong. I don't know, even they concentrated on the first bit of the exam and ran out of the time, which can be, or they wasn't ready for that. So just keep it in mind when you are going to teach. So we need a little bit to push them up in investment and loans. Okay, everyone ready? Let's go. Yes, questions? No? Let's go. My voice, it's okay, everyone can hear? If something I can be more loud, okay, let's go. So the first bit of the questions, it's measurements. So we always started Essentials Math with measurement. And we have here the diagram, okay, some block, irregular block. And the question is using the Simpson rule to calculate the approximate area of the block of land. Okay, so the question, we have 3 marks here, and in general, those 3 marks, we are looking 1 mark for finding the correct width, because it's given just the length of this land, 400 meters. So we are looking 1 mark for this width, and the second mark, we are looking for correct substitution, and the third mark going for the answer. If the students are not rounding up to decimal places, it's okay. But for example, I always teach my students, because in Essentials we don't have, like in Spec and Methods, 3 significant figures or something. I always teach them to do always rounding up to 2 decimal places, because later on when we have investment and loans, this is our sense. So when they have this habit to decimal places, they always will be like correct. So, and then the question, so here we have approximate shape. The area of the block of land can also be approximated using a trapezium. The dimensions of one possible trapezium are shown in a diagram too. This year we was trying to make like very good boundaries just to see which areas are included, which areas is not included, because previous exam there was a little bit like shaded area there. This year it's quite like visible, and they ask you to calculate the area by using the formula for trapezium. Formula is not given, so 1 mark only for this question. Just use the correct formula and substitute it. Okay. And the last question, they ask you explain whether or not the trapezium shown in diagram 2 is a suitable approximation for area of the block of the land. In general, in those questions, what we are looking in balance of the areas included in the shapes and balance of the areas which is outside of the shapes. And here you can see like this area here, that one, can I move? Probably I can move, So this area probably fit in that white area, but this is over. So the question, the answer, what we are looking like, no, it's not suitable because, the balance of the areas. But if the student says like it's approximately correct and gives some like better explanation, normally we look like 2 marks, yes or no, and we want them to explain it. Okay, so in this case, as I say, the area is like very, very visible, so it's not, so the answer is no. But some students also, they was comparing this area and the area in a Simpson rule. like it's like a big difference there, so it's not suitable, which is correct answer as well. Okay, in those worded answers, we normally look the thinking of the students, and you will be surprised how creative they are. Sometimes they put such a beautiful like explanations. We as markers, we surprised, you know, and like, yeah, we was looking for this answer, but yeah, that's correct answer too. So yeah, that was question 1. Any questions? All straight? Good. Okay. Then moving to the question 2. So we have the design of the kitchen. There are 2 basic designs rules to consider for positioning the sink, the refrigerator, and the stove cooktop. So stove cooktop, we have sink, and we have the refrigerator. And as you see, we can join them by drawing this triangle. And the 2 rules for this design are each side of the triangle connecting 3 kitchen items should be between 1.25 and 2.75 meters. And also the perimeter have to be between 3.6 and 8 meters. And in the first question, they ask you to calculate the distance x. So in general, it's a Pythagoras, okay? It's a Pythagoras, but here we've got these 2 marks. 1 mark actually going that they need to add these 2 lengths, 1.4 and 1.3, just to see that all these are long lengths with all these 2 numbers, and then just to use the Pythagoras, okay? Yeah, and the answer with, because answer is not given, so decimal places or approximately 3 meters, we accept both of them.
So you're not helping if they get that calculation wrong. So you're giving 1 mark for the 2.7.
Yeah, if they just put this bit here, because of course we don't want to say that to the students. We want them to work it out all the way, you know. Yeah. So if they put this one correct, okay, or this one correct, and the calculator's wrong or something, it's still full mark. It's still full mark because, you know, in essentials math, we still not have the students who is like, have to be there, okay? And I normally say to my students, they choose essentials because it's an easy math. It's not an easy, it's just different topics. It's just the different topics, depends on your pathways and whatever is going there. But all the math, you need to work hard, you need to pass those exams, so all that. But if they put all those numbers correctly and they know it's a Pythagoras, so we see that students understand what's going on. Okay, so yeah, actually we decide as a group with over teachers, markers, like how to put those marks. And we don't want students, for example, know, like, if you did that, that's it, you will have your marks, okay? Of course, we want them to work out everything to the end, okay? Good. No, it's not 10, it's something else, yes, so...
Because the square root's been changed to 198 over 10 instead of 8.9.
Ah, yeah, probably that, yeah, okay, I will take that away. Okay, so just the square root and the answer. Yeah. Okay, let's move on. Continuing with that question, then they ask you to calculate the perimeter. Normally students did correct, and here you need to look when marking like the following up mistake. If they did the mistake here, of course their perimeter will be different, okay? But if they add all the 3, that means, yep, they've got their mark there. And then it's a tick boxes. So which one, in our case, if they did all the calculations correct, so the position of sink, refrigerator, and stove cooktop in this kitchen design would satisfy only one of the designs, because the lengths have to be between 1.25 and 2.75, and our length here, it's more than 2.75. But again, if students did mistake here, we just choose which one, if they choose it correctly, so that's why I put it here, correct selection supporting by answers in part A, I, and AII. Okay, so depends, so we are looking what they did. Any questions with this? Moving, continue, it's the same question, but now the diagram changed. And actually what we want students to see here, it's not a right angle triangle anymore, okay? And now they are asking to find out the side Y, and it's definitely they have to use a cosine rule. So it's not possible to use a sine rule because we don't know another two angles. So it's 100% the cosine rule to have it here. So I put question here, yes. I put here, like if it's in a radians, 4.68, we was counting it as a correct. But please, if you can check the calculators before students going to the exam, if it's their own calculators, you can check like from the beginning and just say them, don't touch any settings. But majority of the students, they don't have, and on exam, they are going and borrowing from method students, spec student, especially spec, we are doing everything in radians, okay? We are not doing in degrees what we do, only the angles of vectors, yeah. So it's the only thing we do with degrees. So if you can, or even to ask them just before exam, can you bring your calculator to check these settings and another settings for statistics, okay? When it's a list 1, frequency 1, okay? These two settings, if you can check, then it's correct, but we always write down the answers in radians as well. Don't to put the students down if for any case they haven't done. So it's definitely cosine rule. And then again, it's calculating the perimeter. And yeah, I put two answers, one with degrees, one with radians. All good here with this question? Good. And then there is another design, but now we are giving two angles. And actually this is, and to find the side Z. And this is a student choice if they want to use the sine rule or they want to continue and use a cosine rule. So both answers are correct, the both ways. Yeah, so up to them, the answers will be completely the same. If it's in a radians, it's minus 4.02. So even we was counting, it's like, okay, yeah, it's correct. They did all these rules correct. They just did all rearrangements correct. But probably this is an indicator for the student that it can be negative, okay? So it can be negative, but in essentials, students just press the buttons and write whatever. They trust the calculator. So yeah, if you can bring that to the students, it will be great. And then, the question state one problem with the design in relation to the design rules. And in our case, the Z size is bigger than 2.75. But again, normally we was looking what answers they've got, okay? And if they did like incorrect and it's like both rules satisfies, we put this mark there as well, okay? So that's the question 2. All good? No questions? No? All right. Moving the third question. This one was a little bit more challenging for the students. Yeah, because first two, they did like, majority of the students did very, very good. So in question 3, some students are considering collecting soft drink cans for recycling at their school. The school purchased one recycle bin that has a hemisphere on the top and a cube as shown in diagram 6, okay? And all the measurements given here. The first question, they just ask you to calculate the volume of cube, okay? So a majority students did well, but again, some student was confused between area and volume, okay? And I'm less highlight, it's a volume, so you need to use a volume formula, but they did well. In question 2, they ask you to find out, calculate the volume of a hemisphere. The formula is given, and this question is up to 3 marks. So the first mark we was looking that they recognize the radius. So in a diagram, it's a diameter given, 58 centimeters. So the first mark is where they recognize it. The second mark was given that it's a hemisphere. We need to divide it by 2. And the third mark is just for the answer or right substitution. Okay, so this is how our 3 marks there. Then the question says, show that the total volume is 267,080 centimeters cubed. In this case, we want to see this decimal place, okay? We want them not just to have the whole numbers, because the answer is given, okay? And if the student just write down the answer, we was counting it as wrong. Answer is given, we need to do sort of the calculations, okay? So either adding these two numbers or the answer with decimal places. So this is with all questions when the answer is given. And actually it doesn't matter it's method, it's general, or it's spec. So when the answer is given, the marks going in between, okay? Just to show that up, okay? And then the question they ask, a typical soft drink can is considered with a radius 3.1 centimeters and a height. So the dimension is given. They ask you to show that the volume of one soft drink can is approximately 392. Again, we are looking for this line probably, or these decimals, okay, here, but not just to copying the answer, okay? If they give that orange line, okay, that's correct. And here, if they put like 392, they've got their mark, okay? But they need to show how this 392 came up. Then the next question, they ask you, the student show a calculation that supports the claim. So, and the claim is, the students calculated that the recycling bin would hold approximately 680 soft drink cans. So it can be done just adding the volume of total volume dividing by the volume of cans, and this what it will come. And they also can be, you can find it out by calculating the total volume, like multiplying by 680 cans, and to see the total volume if it's the same as you calculated before as given. Both answer is correct. Okay, good. Yeah. And then this explanation, actually this question was very, very interesting to see how creative was the students, because the first attempt when we was writing the answer, we said, no, it's not reasonable, because when you put the cans in, in this shape, okay, you need to put cans like next to each other, and there is gaps in between, so it will not fill. But the students start to give like very creative answers that you can, so you can squash the cans, so then it will be even more cans there, or you can, like the cans can be like different shapes, okay? It again depends on that, it will be fit or not fit. So all those answers we're accepting. So normally when we have the 2 marks for the theoretical question, it's just a statement, okay? They put the statement and then they put the reasonable answer, so appropriate discussion for that statement, okay? So if they will put like yes, no, there's no marks, okay? So it have to be statement and explanation of that statement. And the last question, they ask you to calculate the height of the soft drink can after it has been crushed to the volume of 136 centimeters cubed. And it was rare students did this way, like they have the formula, they substitute and they rearrange to find out age. We have the cases, students was doing that, and it was great to see. Majority of the students was doing trial and error. And all this page was like trying, and they got the answer. That was surprisingly, they was getting the answer at the end, which is again, their creativity. We can't say anything there. We was giving marks for that as well. Okay, so, I always say like, find out your way of doing, it's hundreds of ways of doing. If you find out, why to penalize them? And I think, no, it's one more, And then they ask you here, additional recycling bins will be purchased by the school using the money earned from collecting soft drink cans within 1 school year. Each recycling bin costs $284. On average, 36 soft drinks cans are collected each school day, and each can is worth 10 cents. Assume there are 40 weeks in a school year, and there are no public holidays during this week. Determine how many recycling bins could be purchased within one school year. So as you see what I did here, like the total number of cans, total money collected, and just dividing and just to see how many bins they need. So 2 marks here going just, total cans, total money, or those calculations, and actually it can be done like differently. But 1 mark is going, we want to see the whole number. It's not 2.54. We want to see it's 2 bins. So it's not 3 because it's not enough for 3. So the last mark in this question was going for this. And again, some students was using 5 days a week because we are going to school 5 days a week, but some students was doing 7 days a week. We wasn't punishing them there as well, so it's okay. If it's 7 days, then it should be like 3 bins. But this whole number is very super important here. And I think that's it with measurement. Any questions? No? All good? Yeah. So now we are moving with the statistics, okay? Again, stats part, students did quite well. They did quite well. So let's go through question 4. So a researcher read an article that claimed public schools are charging more in their canteens than independent and Catholic schools. In a state, there's 110 public schools, 94 independent schools, and 36 Catholic schools. Calculate the number of schools. Yep, just adding them together, everything like straight, everyone did that well. And then here it's like state 2 reasons why the researcher may choose to use a sample. And the most common answer we are looking, it's a money consuming, okay, that's why we use a sample, not the population, and also it's time consuming. If they put something like reasonable as well, so it's okay, but we want 2 statements. In some words, we can see the student putting like more than 2, like 3, 4, which is great, but we are not looking for that, okay? We are just looking for 2. And actually, if, okay, I will tell it later, another question, So here, just 2 marks, just 2 answers, that's what we are looking for. And then they ask you to discuss the reliability of the results if the researchers choose 10 public, 10 independent, and 10 Catholic schools to be included in a sample. So normally, it's not reliable because the proportion of the population is different, okay? They can say that stratified sampling is better, but normally we are looking for some sort indication of the proportion, okay? So it's more, which schools are more? We have, like as a public schools, there is more public schools, and we took only 10 of these. There is less like Catholic schools, and we took only 10 of these. It's not fair. So something with proportion, that's the answer we are looking there. And the last question, calculate how many public schools would be included in the stratified sample of 30 schools. So we are looking like it's 2 marks. Again, the calculations, and as with the bins, we want the whole number of schools. If the student left the answer is 13.75, the student is losing 1 mark, okay? Because we are, again, number of schools. It's either 14, either 13, both of them we was counting as it is. Some students was putting as a percentage, okay? Just finding the percentage. So, and we are giving 1 mark for that, okay? No questions? I have the best class today. Okay, moving to the question 5. In some supermarkets, the entrance is on the left of the checkout. In other supermarkets, the entrance is on the right. And we have these 2 diagrams. It is thought that the amount of money spent within the supermarket depends upon whether the entrance is on the left or on the right. And the students who explore that, some students collect data from two different supermarkets. So supermarket A, supermarket B, so entrance on the left, entrance on the right, and this is the data we've got, okay? The questions was to find out, complete the table. So they ask about mean, standard deviation, lower quartile, median, and upper quartile. The data is given for the supermarket B, A. For supermarket B, it's only median given. And actually, this is an indicator for students. If they did all correct, this number 141 should be there. So if not, check the numbers, maybe you miss one number or something. Now, the standard deviation of the population, if the students was taking that, so it's sigma x, not sx, we wasn't punishing them. But again, it's a good idea to teach the difference between SS, it's a sample, and this is a sample we are looking, not the population. And also here in orange, I put if the students in their settings, remember when we do the calculate in the settings, it says list one and frequency list one as well. Sometimes they have that. So this is another point to check their calculators before exams, okay? So frequency have to be one, and the one variable is a list one, okay? So, but if they was doing that, we counting it as one error. So it's a settings error, and there was giving only 2 marks. Because it's straight away, look, the median, it's 148. It's not what here. It's like, have to be indication for the student, I do something wrong. I don't get those answers. Okay? So that here with the box plots, it's 3 marks. It's straightforward. We want because 1 it's already marked there, and minimum value and maximum value here. We want them to label like this, not just to put Q1 median. We want them to put the numbers as well. If they don't put, we can see if they put, so if they put on the correct scaling, we're still counting, but it's always nice to see like nice box plot, and some students doing it with a ruler. It's very like, you say, oh, this student did well. Okay, so good work there. And then there is a discussion. They ask you explain whether there is more variability in spending when customers entering the supermarket on the left or the right. So where is a more variability? So in this question, normally we're looking for either range they compare, either IQR they compare, either standard deviation they can compare as well. But normally, so we are looking standard deviation, range, or IQR. Okay, so 2 marks, again, just mention which one and why. So that's what we are looking. And then next question, a website claimed that a study found shoppers entering a supermarket on the right of the checkout on average spend approximately $2 more per visit. Explain whether or not the claim is supporting by the data collected by the student using one statistical measure. And in this case, some students was using mean, and if they are using mean, it's a support. Okay, so I will go back to the numbers. Okay, so if it's comparing the mean, it's 130.1, 131.8. It's less than 2, it's supporting. But if the student was comparing median, then it's not supporting. So again, this question 2 marks, so support or not support, and why, okay? So both answers are correct, depends which measure they choose to use, okay? Good. And the last bit, state one aspect other than which side of the checkout the customers enter from that could affect the amount spent by customer supermarkets. So again, some reasonable answer, and students again was creative. Some was putting that as items are on sale, so the people was coming and spending more money, just buying more of those products. It's a number of people going during the day. It's frequency of items purchased. Okay, so answer must be related to amount spent by the individual. Any like reasonable answer, it comes like it's okay answer. And it's only 1 mark here. And the last question on the statistics. Sophie believes that her phone battery is going flat quicker than it should. She fully charged her phone overnight and then checks the percentage of the charge remaining at different times during the day. Table 3 below shows the data that Sophie recorded. Okay, so time since fully charged, okay, and it's going in a minute, and the battery life. Plot the data point for data collection number 3. So number 3 is 345 and 65. It's 1 mark question. We just want to see that students are using well the scaling. They know when to put that cross or the dot, okay. Yeah, so it's just 1 mark there. Then the question, Sophie's days is made up for 4 periods of time. Before school, at school, after school, and at her part-time job. Using the phone charge data in table 3, complete the statement. Sophie finished school minutes and started her part-time job. Normally what we are looking here, so it's this bit here, okay? So during the school, you know, students can't use a phone, and by this data, probably the student went to the bathroom and used a phone there. We don't know yet. But then after school, they went on a phone straight away, and yeah, messages, answering, calling, all that. So that why by all this data, it can be seen from the graph. It also can be seen from the table. The numbers we are looking between 480 minutes after full recharge and 570, and 2 marks each one for these numbers.
A student actually tried to work out the time of the day, because I think that's what some students try to do. They're equating the 0 maybe as being 7 a.m. and they put times of the day.
That's okay. If that's the times like between this period and they convert that to time, all good. I didn't saw that, yeah, so when I was married, I didn't saw, but if that, yeah, of course, they did extra work to do that, yeah, so it's all good, it's all good. So in general, we are looking at this period of time when when Sophie is using her phone. So we are looking, yeah, if they convert that to seconds, they can do that. So it's up to them what they want to do, yeah, but it's all good. And then suggest a reason why the percentage of charge remaining did not decrease significantly between data collection number 9 and 10. So 9 and 10 is going to the end of the day, and the reasonable answer, something again reasonable, appropriate reason, and it can be at work and not using the phone. Maybe phone is turned off due to low battery, maybe she turned it off, something reasonable, okay? So something we are looking, and it's again only 1 mark. They don't need like to put a lot of explanation, just something what they think, yeah, reasonable answer. And then it's about correlation. So calculate the coefficient of determination and state the strengths. So 2 marks, it's 1 for calculating the correlation, and the second mark to state what kind of correlation that. And if the student, for example, did all the calculation wrong and they find out that number it's a moderate correlation, they are getting 1 mark there, okay? And we was a little bit like, yeah, strong or very strong correlation, we was counting as, yeah, both answers are correct, okay? And the last bit of this question is about using the line of best fit, okay, or the regression line. And again, 2 marks, 1 for first number, or in a calculator, it's A and B, okay? And this negative, it's really, really important here. So like 2 marks for that. The question after, they ask you to find out what will be the battery charge after 165 minutes. So you're just substituting x in the line of best fit in that equation and find out the percentage. Again, if the students wrote this equation, the equation of line of best fit wrong, but then substituted it there, it's a follow through mistake, they will still getting 2 marks. And the last bit of the question, when Sophie purchased the phone, the website advertised a battery that lasts all day. Using the equation of the least square regression line, show whether or not the battery likely to last all day. So yeah, so here is one of the examples, okay, how they can calculate. So when your y equals to 0, like how many minutes it will take to battery go completely flat, and it comes to 1010.9 minutes. And if we will divide it by 24 hours and 60 minutes, so yeah, and 1 day, so to find out 1 day, either you can divide this, or 1 day it's 1440 minutes, and it shows it's not last. Some students wasn't putting 24 hours. There was assuming that everyone is sleeping, and let's say the Sophie is sleeping 8 hours. That means it's not 24, it will be 16 hours. In that case, it's again correct answer. In that case, it lasts. So it's for whole day, the battery will be last. And also, the students was doing like calculating how many minutes in 1 day and putting that for x value in the equation of the line. And the answer comes as a negative, so that's the indicator it's not lasting for the whole day. Okay? Yes.
Sorry, if they use the bottom method of substituting or letting x equal 1440, that was still worth it?
Yes. Yeah. So what you mean? They find out that, and then they did this, and they say that comparing these two?
No, if they did the order at the bottom, so substituting for 1440.
And putting that here, it's correct. It's full 2 marks, yeah.
Rearrange an equation?
No, they didn't rearrange, because they didn't rearrange, so they find out how many minutes. They use again the equation of the line, and here we are looking that they have that negative. And negative, that means, it's not lasting. I will put aircon on, and actually you have button there as well. Yeah, it's, I think, on a timer, and it's going off. So it will be on. So it will comes up.
Does that question maybe just a little bit? That should write a lot for 2.
Yeah.
Minutes in a day. 1 to recognise it needs to be set to 0, and then 1 for saying for.
Yeah, I agree. But normally this question, when the students did bad, and if we will put like more marks there, the more they are losing. So we still like supporting our essentials kids, like very proud they are continuing to do the work, they're working there. Yes, I agree. It can be more than 2 marks. And this is one of the challenging, maybe A type question. But just 2 marks, and actually, says deciding how to put marks. Okay, so yes. So probably this method is the easiest, like to find out how many minutes. It's just a conversion to find out the minutes and put in a equation of the line. So positive, it's last. Negative, no, it's not last. And again, if it's 24 hours or they want 8 hours sleep, 10 hours sleep, 7 hours sleep, depends what they put there. Okay, just for us markers to sit with a calculator and calculate all these options. So, and I think that's it with statistics. Any questions about statistics? Yes.
Yeah, so in C, where the calculator asks they have this comment, if they interpreted the causalities, do they only get 1 out of 2?
Yes. So look, if they only say it's a strong correlation, let's say without this value, they are not getting any marks, because question mentions calculates the coefficient.
Yeah, so if they...
But if they calculate but not mention that, 1 mark.
Yeah, but if they go R squared equals 0.887, therefore 88.7% on the variation in do they get the second mark, or because it's asking?
No, they want the strengths. They want the strengths. Just interpreting what the coefficient of correlation, no one asked them to do that. they did well done. Yeah, they did well done because there was a work they are converting to the percentages and showing all that. But the question was saying about coefficient and the strengths. Okay, so coefficient strengths. If the coefficient given, no strengths, 1 mark. But if not, just the strengths, it's 0 marks there. Okay, and investment and loans. So this part was done not very well this year. Okay, actually, before starting, a lot of students still using the formulas to find out the future value and the present value. And majority of mistakes they did there, okay? So in our performance standards, we have the efficient use of technology. So we want them to use the calculators, okay? If they did that correctly, rearranging and all that stuff, it's excellent. But I say 90% of the students who is using the formulas until now, they did that wrongly, okay? So there is a lot of mistakes there. So it's good if they will learn the calculator. So that was a message from SAYS, yeah. So the first question, Marnie invests 12,000 for 3 years in the account with flat rate, so simple rate, yeah, 3.85 per annum. Again, they can use a formula or they can plug in a graphics calculator and just the answer, just 1 mark for that. And the second question calculates the total amount of the money. So it's their principal and their interest, just adding together, we will find out the total amount of money. If Marnie was able to invest 12,000 in an account with the same rate per annum, but compounded monthly, calculate the interest earned. And as you see, this question is 3 marks. So 2 marks going for the entries. Okay, so each wrong entry, it's taking the marks, and the last mark, because it says the interest. Okay, it says the interest, so we want to see that the difference. Okay, so only interest. A lot of students, I know some teachers teaching their student not to put negatives, and then when the answer negative or the error, like different ways teachers teaching. So the way I'm teaching, it's always like, if you're taking money, it's positive. You put it in your pocket. If you are giving, even for investment, but you give it away, so it's negative. So give away negative, take back, it's positive, okay? So because those negatives and positives, it's counting like one error, and they are getting completely different answers, and in some cases it's, so here the interest we want to calculate. Then Marnie realized that the compound rate offered by the bank was only 3.13% per annum, compounded monthly. Calculate the monthly deposit that is required. So if the payments, we are looking for, again, 2 marks. Normally for all the questions with investment and loans, the right entries, okay, that question is 2 marks. Okay, so we are looking for right entries and normally taking mark for each wrong entry. For each wrong entry, we are taking mark, and actually 2 wrong entries, that means they lose all these 2 marks. Good with that? So first question was good. Next question, a loan of 460,000 with monthly repayments for 30 years has an interest of 5.08% per annum, compounded monthly. Show that the minimum monthly repayment would be approximately 2,500. So what we are looking here, we want that decimal places, okay? If the student just put all this in and just write down the answer, again, answer is given, and they was losing the mark. So we want to see those decimal places to see that they work it out. They have that. Some students was doing put for the payments 2,500 and was calculating the present value and see if it's close to 460,000. It's correct as well. Okay, so they said to show, yep, they showed that. And the second question, they asked calculate the total interest that would be paid through making the minimum monthly repayments. Yes, only 1 mark, but it's a total repayments. minus the present value. Okay, probably it can be like 2 marks, but no, it's only 1 mark here just to see the difference. Okay, there. And the next question is again show question. Show that after 8 years of monthly repayments of 3,300, Eleni and Jacob would still have a loan balance of approximately. So again, show. Again, we need the right entries, but we need that decimal place. Okay, we need that decimal place to show. Whenever the answer is given, we need to some calculations to be done there. And the next one, part C, they ask you to calculate how long in months. And because it's compounded monthly, so it's straight away the answer there. Again, all the right entries and the answer should be there. This question was done very good with students. Yeah, so they all did well. Yeah, so this time says didn't put the trick like it's compounded weekly and then they want the months, all years, okay? So no conversion here. And the next one, they calculate the total interest paid by Eleni and Jacob. So again, there was investment for 8 years, then for 168 months, just finding the total repayments, and then the interest taking away just to see how much there. So 2 marks for that. So to see the interest and to see the total repayments. If they was calculating total repayments wrong, but they show that whatever answer they've got there, they take away, they're still getting 1 mark there. And the last bit of this question, calculate the interest saved. So, yep. That the interest calculated in part CII, and there was 440,000 at the beginning. Okay, so we have it here. And just the difference between these two, it shows how much money they saved. And the last bit. Okay, so we have the superannuation question. And I don't know why students, whenever they have superannuation or something not like the straight investment and borrowing money, they start to think that it's a hard question, but it's completely the same way it's working. So this question was like poorly done. So it's a lot of students filled it blank or wrong. And as I said at the beginning, we don't know either they was concentrating on the first bit and they ran out of the time, or they find out it's hard. So we have 3 superannuation funds here and their interest rates, and all of them compounded quarterly. Okay, quarterly contribution of 1,550 are paid into the social responsible fund for Oscar for 40 years. Show that the Oscar will have a superannuation balance of 1,453,000. Again, showing question. Again, we want those decimals. We want this number here. Okay, we want to see this number here. So they show it up. Calculate how much less would need to be contributed each quarter for Oscar to achieve the same balance after 40 years in a high growth fund. So different fund, different interest rate, but here we want how much less would it need to pay. And normally in the questions before, you saw we have 3 marks for that question, but for this one, we just have 2 marks. So 1 mark just for the entries to get this answer, and 1 mark to have that difference. Okay, to have that difference. Then they say to calculate the superannuation balance if the quarter contribution to Oscar for Oscar in a balanced fund for the next 5 years. So again, 2 marks, straightforward for 5 years. This N. So a lot of students forgetting to multiply by PY. Okay, a lot of students like forgetting to do that. Yeah, either it's a good idea to put them on a help note just to write down, don't forget, highlight it, like don't forget, because that put a lot of students like taking mark there, okay? So yeah, 2 mark for the putting correct entries and get the answer. And then state 1 assumption, okay? And the assumption can be the easiest one probably to remember students that the interest rate is the same, contribution is the same, or they don't change the job, so all the conditions for those 40 years is the same, okay? No extra repayments or withdrawals, so no extra fees, no inflation, any of them. But whatever they put there in Part II explains the impact on Oscar's final superannuation balance if the assumption in Part DI is changed, okay? And in general, we are looking if interest rate will get up, the investment, it will be more money in his account. If the interest rate going down, so less there. If he will put more contribution, again, superannuation at the end, he will have more money. But it have to be linked. A lot of students was talking here about rate, and here just explaining, for example, the contributions. So we want students to read questions like more carefully, and in general, it's like the rule. So give the assumption, explain that assumption. So it's the same thing we are explaining. As the last bit, it's about inflation. So this probably, I don't know, 5-10% of the students did that question. So this question was done very, very badly. And yeah, so inflation happening. And again, 2 marks, it just what to see. And actually it was interesting. Students was putting crazy numbers. I don't know what they was putting, and they was getting like interest, like the negative or error, they was putting error. So they should recognize that if something like comes to error or like huge amount, like 75%, it's not like logical, okay? So something I'm doing wrong. But yeah, that question, if you can take that to the classes and do the inflation questions, it will be great. And the last bit is calculate how much Oscar will need to withdraw in the 20th year if he wants to maintain his lifestyle. And his lifestyle, he wants $2,475 per week. It's actually to calculate the future value. Okay, so what will be... No, this is the inflation question. Sorry, I mixed it up. I didn't read the question. So here they just want to find out the interest rate, and this is the inflation question. It's like, with that inflation, how much, what is the money after inflation? So it's 2,475, but for maintaining his life, he actually need, after 20 years, 5,744. Not that. Sorry, that's the inflation. My bad, 2 mistakes I did. Okay, so still have 3. And I think that's all. That's all. Okay, any questions? Yes?
So do you want us in tech to have students to use the calculators and to write their solutions like that?
It can be not written like that. Some students just put like in a line. They can do that. I'm teaching in this way because I find out it easy for my students. They're just copying what on a calculator. They don't need to remember. It's like 5-number summary. They don't, of course, it's good to remember that it's a minimum, it's Q1, it's medium, Q3, and maximum. But if they forget for any reason, just scroll the calculator, it's 5 numbers there, just copy them, okay? It doesn't matter how they present it, but they need to show which number going where, okay? Unless they are using the formulas.
Should we be teaching them how to use formulas as well?
No. So formulas normally we teach in year 11. We do all this work, but then when it comes to year 12, it's up to you. To be true, it's up to you. It's completely up to you. But if they use the formulas, I say 95% of the students who are using the formula, that's the statistical analysis we did, makes the mistakes. Okay, so, and as I say in our performance standards, we have the efficient use of technology. We use technology in statistics, of course, but in investment and loans, it's like good to use it as well. It's up to you. It's completely up to you. It depends on your cohort of the class, because sometimes we have so low students and what we teach, just press the buttons. Okay, just press the buttons. Even that way, we have like crazy answers. They don't understand why it can't be that, so all that. But it's completely up to you what you want to teach. If they use a formula, it's okay. We mark it as a correct. No one put down the students who are using the formula. Just make sure they use it correctly. Especially in this exam, it was okay. But previous exams, we have like the different repayments and different compound interest. So months and weeks. Here were students like struggling, especially with formula, with this, So, okay, beautiful. So it's 44. Oh, I did exactly on time. Yes.